Hello, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for joining us for this fourth session in our 6-week series on zooming in on your job search. As a brief introduction, my name is Susan Pack, and I'm the Director of Career Services here at WVU Tech. I'll be walking you through this fourth session, which is Be Your Best, 6 tips to prepare for your job interview. So as an introduction, you've done it. You've landed the job interview for the job. You know, the one you've been dreaming about for years. After you've called all the A-list people, telling them about the exciting news, you slowly feel that sense of elation and excitement morph into a different sensation. Some people will say it's a sense of dread. Some will say it's an overwhelming feeling of panic. For many people, it's actually a combination of both. Thoughts start racing through your head. What will I say? What will the interviewers ask? How can I make sure I put my best foot forward? If you're feeling like this, don't worry, you're not alone. A recent survey by JDP, it's a company that specializes in the screening of candidates, found that there were some common fears among job seekers. The larger was that of not being able to answer a difficult question, followed by looking nervous, and then not being perceived as intended. Rounding out the anxiety of interviews is not being able to address a weakness, nothing, and finally getting caught in a lie. Well, I know we all wish that we were the 7% who have no anxiety with interviews. That's normally not the case. Though I can't necessarily give you the magic answer to how to come up with a weakness or how to make sure you can answer any question that comes your way, I can help you prepare by teaching you the 6 B's of interview preparation. My personal philosophy, borrowed from the Girl Scouts, is to always be prepared, and you'll be ready for when your interview comes around. So without further ado, let's dive in. First, you're going to brush up on the job. So this first step may seem pointless since you've read the job description before applying, but I assure you it's one of the most important steps in your interview preparation. In an ideal world, we would receive an interview request from every job we apply to. The reality, however, is that it could be weeks before you're contacted to schedule an interview if you hear back at all. The gap in the time between when you apply to when you actually interview can leave your memory a little hazy on the details, which is completely normal. When you brush up on the job, make sure to keep the following items in mind. First, identify the desired skills listed in the job description. Skills vary on both hard and soft skills. When you search for the hard skills in a job postings, these are the items such as technical elements of what you would do daily. An example would be languages spoken, software programs to be used in the job, or certifications that are required to complete the job. For soft skills, search the job description for skills focused on communication, leadership, and responsibility. With soft skills, these skills are those that are hard to perceive just by looking at a resume, but vital to employers. Once you've identified the desired skills, it's time to establish the desired knowledge for the job. Knowledge differs from skills because they are specific to the, for lack of better word, knowledge you bring to the table. This knowledge could be gathered through your education, work experience, or a combination of both. Finally, after establishing the desired knowledge, single out the desired qualities found in the job description. Qualities are very similar to soft skills, but I find are easier to think of as character traits. When looking for qualities, it might be easier to locate if you think of what traits you'd want in anyone doing work for you. As an example, if I'm looking for a contractor to remodel a room in my house, qualities that I would desire are those of trustworthiness, honesty, and that they're fair. Qualities are the items that are hard to quantify, but not hard to identify when interacting with those individuals. While you're brushing up on the job, make sure to take a note or some notes of the items you outline in your review because they become critical in tip 2. Write these qualities on a notepad or on the tip sheet checklist, item 1, and hold on for item 2. We do have a checklist that you can utilize for this whole presentation. Just reach out to Career Services. We're happy to share that with you. Before we move on, let's take a moment to put our first tip into action. On the screen, you can see a job description for sales associate position. Can you spot the desired skills, knowledge, and qualities that this company has outlined? Remember, skills can be both hard and soft skills used to do the job. Knowledge can be a combination of education and experience, and qualities are character traits that the job seeker holds. In this example, the desired skills, knowledge, and qualities are easy to identify. They're pretty well called out. You can see it. Unfortunately, all just job descriptions you won't find to be as clear as this. It may take time to hone your skills on brushing up on your jobs, but once you do, you'll be ready to head on to tip 2. In tip 2, you're going to start building upon what you outlined in tip 1 and brainstorm your qualifications. In tip 1, you brushed up on the job, which included identifying desired skills, knowledge, and qualities that were listed within the job description. In tip 2, you'll build on that information and make it specific to you. Pull out the list that you made in tip 1. In the space provided for the checklist item 2, build a list of your assets or skills, knowledge, and qualities that you have to offer. Once you've finished with that, match up those assets with the desired assets from tip 1. This will help you identify both your potential strengths and weaknesses in regard to the job, which happens to be one of the most common interview questions. So what's your greatest strength? What's your greatest weakness? Next, research interview questions specific to the assets that are both within the job description and those that are on your personal list. An easy way to do this is to use an internet search for such items such as, what are interview questions about the skill of communication? We also, of course, have resources for potential interview questions. If you just reach out to Career Services, we're happy to share those with you. By researching these interview questions, you can move on to building supporting examples using your qualifications. When building examples, think of times that you have done something either at work or in personal experience that support and illustrate the skill that you're discussing. If someone asks you to work well with others, you can provide an example of a time that you worked with 3 others, let's say, to organize an event on campus and speak to the ways that you led the communication efforts. Having your qualifications listed out and preparing with them and the skills desired on the job description can help you address the largest fear faced by those interviewed of not knowing how to answer a question, as you'll be prepared to do so. As with tip 1, let's put tip 2 into practice before we move on to tip 3. According to Forbes, these are the 5 most frequently asked interview questions, no matter what job you're applying for. What are your strengths? Excuse me. I find most people don't have trouble answering what their strengths are. They can kind of come up with that. Just remember that when you are addressing your strengths, you want to make sure that you are honing those or like kind of tuning them towards the job description that you're doing. So if you are going to go into a leadership role, then you want your greatest strength to be one that speaks to leadership. What are your weaknesses? As a reminder, with both strengths and weaknesses, these can be hard and soft skills. If you're applying for a job that would see a high, just as an example, word per minute count, so when you're typing, as a strength, include that hard skill. If being a leader is outlined in the job description, as we already mentioned, then make sure to include how leadership is one of your strengths. However, when you're listing these skills, make sure you're honest to avoid the greatest interview fears, one of them that we referenced earlier, which is being caught in a lie. So you don't want to over exaggerate your strengths and weaknesses, then be asked for more specific details and not have them. The third question is, why are you interested in working for the company? When answering this question, focus on what about the job and the company excites you. Try to avoid answering with the very honest, I need a job, as though it may be true, it doesn't inspire. Speak about why the company's culture or specific aspects of the job fit into your overall career path and how you see yourself fitting into the company. Where do you see yourselves in 5, 10, 15 years? I personally find this to be one of the hardest questions because it's something that if you're interviewing for a job, you're hopeful you'll still be at that job. So with this question, focus on those future plans that could make you a stronger employee with the organization. Maybe in 5 years, you see yourself moving from an associate position to that of a manager. Include those examples in your answer and again, tie it back to the organization for better impact. Why do you want to leave your current company? This may not be a question that you'll encounter as someone coming straight out of school, but just in case, did want to touch on it. Of all the questions, this may be one of the trickiest to address. As a matter of interview etiquette, your answer should never be, I hate my job, or anything along the lines of talking about your current company in negative light. Try to focus on the potential with the new company and the future you can see with them instead of talking badly about your current employer. Remember, a person doing the interview could see your response as a red flag if you're negative, so keep it positive. So now that you've prepared your list of qualifications and researched possible interview questions, it's time to research your potential future employer. Wait, you may be saying, isn't tip 3 the same as tip 1? That you may find out select items about the company from their job description or posting. Often you won't find information about the company's mission, vision, or culture in that job posting. By bolstering your knowledge about the company, you'll be better prepared to answer and, for that matter, ask questions about the company. It may seem like this is a step you can skip, but just keep in mind the average time a job seeker spends researching a company is 7 hours. This means that if you aren't doing this research, you could be less prepared for an interview than your competition for that same role. In addition, you'll be able to determine if the company's culture will be a good fit for you. Organization culture speaks to the why behind what the company does and the steps the company takes to get there. When looking at an organization's culture, you can also begin to form answers about how you could fit into the organization's culture and how your own personal values align with those of the organization. So, where do you learn about the company? On most organizations' websites, there's a specific About Us page. Beyond this, you can also search for the organization on social media and read reviews of the company on sites such as Glassdoor. Finally, reach out to your network and see what their experience has been with working either with or for the organization. While bolstering your company knowledge, you can also work on building questions that you would like to ask during the interview. We touched on this briefly on the previous point, but really a lot of your questions beyond, oh, how much does this job pay and stuff, it should really center around the culture because this is somewhere when you're researching jobs, you want to make sure you're going to be happy. You don't want to go into somewhere that has a completely different set of beliefs than you because you're not going to stay there. You're going to be unhappy. So using this knowledge gathered from this area about the company can help you to subtly let the organization know you've done your research, but also allow you to get the answers you need to make an informed decision if the interview graduates to a job offer. So just like before, as a brief example, here is an example of the About Us page for Apple. By reviewing this page, we can learn many things about the culture and work environment here. As a reminder, a company manages their About Us page. So to get a full picture of what the experience might be like with the company, make sure to check the additional resources that we mentioned previously. Don't just go off the company's page because, of course, the company is always going to put the brightest image forward. So the best view of themselves. Now it's time to build your confidence. The key to building your confidence for an interview is a simple one: practice. You've prepared for the type of questions that you may receive. It's now time to put that preparation into play. With your list of potential questions, you can outline your answers. While you won't be able to read your outline answers, this does give you, again, that practice. So you'll be more comfortable being asked those questions. So what you need to do, though, is take it a step further and have a friend conduct your interview or someone in career services. We can also set up mock interviews with people in the field. This gives you the opportunity to get used to someone else asking you the questions and to practice your body language while participating in the interview. Ask your friend to provide you with constructive feedback on how you can improve both your answers and your actions to get that better impression. Do you not have someone to practice with? Yet again, I'm going to remind you to reach out to career services and see what resources we have available to help you. As a reminder, it is essential to practice in the format you'll be interviewed in. While it's easy to say that virtual interviews are all due to COVID-19, that isn't the case. A trend that was already emerging prior to 2020 was that of conducting initial interviews virtually prior to doing an in-person interview. This saves the hiring manager both time and money and will most likely remain in practice. So virtual interviews are probably not going away. This means it's essential to be familiar with the technology or format that you'll be interviewing in so that you can avoid the awkward interaction that could come from being unfamiliar with that technology. This doesn't mean, however, that you still shouldn't prepare for in-person interviews. It's important to practice on all formats or fronts to be prepared for what you may encounter. This allows you to build your confidence and feel ready for your interview. Finally, while you're building your confidence, you can continue to do so by also preparing the items you may need for your interview, such as a copy of your resume, references, and examples of work. If you're preparing for a virtual interview, have these files saved in one location so you have easy access, like such as a folder that says interview with company, and have everything on your desktop so you're not having to mill through trying to find it. If you're doing an in-person interview, have them printed and available for distribution. So before we move on, I do want to briefly discuss body language. Body language is the type of communication where physical gestures express information. Think of it as a child throwing a temper tantrum by holding their breath to get their way. There's no verbal communication, but the physical gesture speaks volumes. So let's look at a few quick tips on body language before we move on. The first is already on the screen, which is maintain good posture. If you've seen me during this presentation, you can see I don't have the best posture. I'm a sloucher to my core, but during an interview, you need to maintain good posture as it displays confidence, which is what you want. Keep your palms open. By keeping your hands open, you convey to the individual doing the interview that you have nothing to hide and are confident in your answer, but not aggressive. It's fine to gesture if it comes naturally to you. Just keep your hands open when doing so. Try to avoid this because this is aggressive. Finally, make the appropriate amount of eye contact. This tip can be hard for many people. By avoiding eye contact, it gives the impression that you're unsure or anxious over an answer. By maintaining constant eye contact, you can come across as aggressive or dominant. It's important to practice to find the perfect balance between the two. Now that we've prepared for interview questions, it's time to prepare for the first impression by beautifying your outfit. I apologize for this one, but I needed another B, so we went with beautify. Throughout my life, there have been a couple of things that I seem to always hear when it comes to picking out an interview outfit. You never get a second chance to make a first impression, and dress for the job you want, not the job you've got. With these two pieces of wisdom in mind, it's important to take time to prepare for your job interview to determine exactly what you're going to wear. When you're determining what to wear, here are some items to keep in mind. First, the business environment. Is the job you're interviewing for in a casual environment, a business casual environment, or an environment that requires full business attire? This information helps you when planning your outfit as to what you'll wear for an interview. For a construction worker position could vary greatly from what you would wear, as an example, for a stockbroker interview. Look at the business environment and plan your outfit from there. Next, think about the state of your outfits. When interviewing, your outfit should be clean, not wrinkled, and fit well. Remember, this is your one chance to make an impression on those doing the interview. You want to put together or put out a put together image that supports the skills you'll speak to later in your interview. Finally, it's important to make sure that no matter what job you're interviewing for, that you're neat and tidy. It doesn't mean that what you're wearing, or it doesn't matter what you're wearing, excuse me, if you forget to brush your hair. Just keep in mind that the additional items that exist outside of your outfit, and make sure that those are supporting you, keeping you confident, and making sure you're going where you want to in the interview. As a note, sometimes people like to wear multiple bracelets or pieces of jewelry that jangle or jingle a lot, and that could be distracting. So this is just one of those examples of other items that you may think nothing of it makes you feel confident, but if somebody hears a constant jingling, they're going to be more focused on the jingling of the accessory than they are on what you're saying. So just one example of other items to keep in mind. And finally, you want to remember to breathe. This is quite often easier said than done when nerves are in play. There are multiple apps available that can provide a way to focus on your breathing prior to your interview. By trying apps such as Calm or Headspace, you may be able to find a sense of calm in a sea of worry. If that doesn't work, it's time for a pep talk. It doesn't matter if that talk comes from your network or from within your own head. Push out the negativity and focus on the positive. Career Services also has a pre-interview hype song playlist that we can share with you if you need to push away some negative and just kind of release it with some good old music. Remember, by getting the interview, you've already surpassed a huge hurdle. You've worked hard to be ready for the interview, and you can enter into the interview with confidence that you will succeed. So to get you started, here are some examples of affirmations from Glassdoor that can be used prior to a job interview. I am calm and confident. Job interviews are easy. I am perfect for this position. I am their ideal candidate. I love job interviews, and my energy is contagious. I impress interviewers. I stand out above the rest. I'm an excellent candidate, and I exude capability. If you have any questions, that does, of course, complete this presentation. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to Career Services. You can see our email address here. We're here to help you and just want to make sure that you're most successful as you can be in your career pathway in preparation and getting to the job that you want. Again, thanks for joining us for this presentation, and we hope you all have a really great day. Bye-bye.